I'm here outside the Department of Education where the Separate Church and State campaign has organised a protest. They're demanding that children in religious-run schools can opt out of religious education.
Separate church and state!
Yeah, so could you just maybe tell me why Education Equality is supporting the protest here today?
Well, basically we stand for two things. One is equal access to education and the other one is equal respect during the school day. So equal access means that there should be no religious barriers to a child accessing a taxpayer-funded school. What we say is it's absolutely wrong. It's hard to believe it's necessary to say this, but it's absolutely wrong that a school can prioritise a child on the basis of religion in terms of access. Now, after a lot of campaigning, along with other groups, we've changed that law. So it changed in Catholic schools, that's 90% of primary schools. There's still 6% of other religious schools that can discriminate in enrolment on the basis of religion, which we'll keep on campaigning against. It should be said, as you've probably inferred, 96% of schools in Ireland, 96% of primary schools are controlled by religious institutions. So the second part is equal respect during the school day. I'm father to a 3-year-old kid. So the way things stand now is, yes, we've gotten rid of the baptism barrier, but what happens is during the school day, for 30 minutes every single school day, children who are not of the patron's religion will sit at the back of the class on their own, doodling, doing busy work, left alone, while the rest of the class go ahead with their lessons, sing their songs and so on. That's religious segregation, it's discrimination, it's othering children, when what we say is just teach faith formation outside school hours.
We've come a long way in the last few years in Ireland. I think a huge way from the old conservative Ireland of the 90s going back, from marriage equality in 2015 to the huge repeal movement last year. But I think to really kind of finish that job, I think that to build on that, I think we need to push towards a complete separation of church and state. Particularly in areas, we've seen protests around the national maternity hospitals, but I think we're outside the Department of Education today. I think particularly, after the great same-sex marriage vote, after the repeal vote, we still have a sex education programme in schools, for example, that's deeply rooted in Catholic dogmatism.
Kelly, you're part of the campaign that's organised the protest here today. Why did you think it was important to be here?
Well, basically, back in February, the former Minister of Education, Richard Bruton, he issued a circular saying to the ETB schools, listen, education, the religious education module needs to be basically an opt-in, and that it's against the constitutional rights to force this on a child, and which he was true. And he was saying you'd have to provide an additional subject for the children as well. Basically, he did a complete turnaround and withdrew the circular and basically said, well, no, actually, you have to do it. It isn't infringing on their constitutional rights, and it's compulsory now. So after we heard this news, because we really welcomed the news that that children were going to be able to opt out and their beliefs were going to be, their human rights were going to be upheld. But now we just can't believe it, that they just did a complete turnaround. And we found out that ATS Ireland, through Freedom of Information, found out that they were lobbied heavily by the Catholic Church. So we know that they're pulling strings here within our education system, within our maternity system, and it's a big, huge, broad issue that we need to tackle together.
Education! Education!